Well, today we're going to do a bit of a shop update video. I've been doing a lot of stuff outside the shop lately, so I don't have a whole lot of footage of anything that's really good to put a video together with. We haven't done an update in a while, so why not? The ADB that we just put the wiring harness just left a little bit ago. I had a few other things to do on it other than the wiring harness, which is why it just now left. I put a whole bunch, put all the new bushings in the suspension and worked on the choke. But then he had an unusual problem. The whole time I was playing with it and test driving it, didn't give me any problems whatsoever. He got halfway home and suddenly it just started idling at 3,000 RPMs all at once. So he turned around, brought it back to me, and I'll show you what we found. So here's a Stromberg carburetor, not the one from that car. Strombergs have the little poppet valve here in the butterfly. I went ahead and checked for vacuum leaks. Nothing was wrong vacuum-wise. So then I reached down in there and pushed on this, and it was awful easy to push. Now, this was epoxied at some point in time. I usually solder them myself, but what was happening, the glue just let go and was popping open. Shouldn't be moving at all because it's glued shut. So what was happening was, sitting in idle, it was just sucking this open, allowing a lot of extra air in there, and then it was sitting there idling at 3,000 RPMs. Popped the carburetor off. I took, out of expediency, since he was sitting here waiting, had 2 kids with him and everything, and his wife in another car, just grabbed the butterfly out of this one, which was solid, put that one in it, made some minor adjustments, and now it runs just fine. So there was already supposed to be another car sitting here by now, but his transportation, or its trailer to be able to transport it up here, fell through, so it's not going to be here till early next week. And that's a TR6 with apparently a dead alternator, and he wants to do a full inspection bumper to bumper to see how good of a car it actually is. Now, if you want to see some videos on that stuff, let me know. Maybe we'll do a bumper to bumper look at what to look out for on a TR6. And I also have a midget coming over here. I think it's going to be here late next week for an ignition switch where the key won't come out. So we're going to put a whole new ignition switch in it. If you'd like to see a video on that, let me know on that one too. And also, it ended up having no brakes when he got it out to look at bringing it over here. So probably wheel cylinders. I think I've done one before on a midget, but if you want me to do at least an updated video of it, let me know on that too. So now we got Green Phoenix is just sitting here, just kind of waiting for some love, waiting for her to make some final decisions on exactly what she's doing with the interior and get to working on the interior, so that I know what I've got to do for potential modifications within the interior. And it's just been a back burner project. It's not a high priority at the moment, but we do want to get back to it. But meanwhile, the TD we got over here, we have been working on. We got the dash all stripped down, we're going to be polishing all this chrome up the best we can because he opted not to buy all new. And we're going to get this all recovered with the vinyl to match the rest of the interior. This has been repainted and ready to start reassembling it. And we're starting to clean up the gauges and switches and stuff, getting it ready here. So we've been polishing the trim rings here, and cleaning up the glass and making sure everything looks like it's ready to be put back together. Unfortunately, at some point in time, the glass had been busted out of the speedometer and had let air and weather or whatever get to it where the face of the gauge is not ever going to look as nice as the face of the tack, and he does not want to refurbish them as long as they're working. and we don't know yet if they work. He's pretty sure they do, but this thing's been sitting for 40 years, so we'll find out. Meanwhile, I've been cleaning up all the other stuff, and well, back up a second. It had a piece of flat glass in it when it got here. I took the flat glass out and put the correct curved glass in, so at least it matches. So if you don't notice that the gauge face isn't as good a condition, it'll still look like it's supposed to look. Been starting to work on cleaning up all the individual components, deciding what needs replaced and what doesn't. And this horn button here, this is a 1 year only, 53 only horn button. So obviously there is no replacements. This was in bad enough shape, I needed to clean it. The paint was in bad enough shape, I needed to repaint it. Got it taken apart, repainted, ready to put back together. But the screws that hold everything together, they were tore up before it got here, and they just got worse with me taking them apart because I couldn't get a hold of them. They're brass, and they have little tiny heads on them, and you can't find anything to match. But I found some screws with bigger heads on them that we can modify the heads and still make it work. So yeah, that's what you got to deal with, playing with these old cars, especially when it's a year that has one year only parts on it. So over here we got ourselves a windshield project. I know everybody loves these MGC and MGB windshields. They're so much fun. And they're even more fun when the glass isn't right. We bought the good glass for this because we didn't want any fitment problems, and we even got the modified stuff with the modified corners and everything. I have put a number of these in with no issues. Apparently, fairly recently, they may have changed production of these to a different facility, and there are maybe some issues now because this did not fit. The very edges out here weren't flat. The other side was a lot worse than this side, but it had bump outs right here that shouldn't be there. Now, they didn't stick out terribly far, but enough that you couldn't squeeze it in far enough to actually put the screws in to the lower part of the frame, and it was pulling the seal up under the aluminum on the side frames. So rather than sending it back and potentially getting another one that's exactly the same, I've opted to modify the windshield. Yes, you can do that. You just have to be very careful about doing it. You can use good quality, I can't think of the name of it. Emery cloth. Duh, I'm an idiot. Good quality emery cloth on a sanding block, and you can work the edges, and just be very careful to not spend much time at any one time on it, because you build too much heat in there, it will develop a crack because of the heat variance between that spot and the rest of it. Take your time, work it slowly. You can, really shave 1/8 of an inch off of this if you really wanted to. It's just about, working it. I have reassembled this thing 4 times now. And I think that now that once I finish adjusting this, it should go back together at this point. We'll see. Yay. This is how this industry is right now. So many equity firms buying up all these aftermarket companies, consolidating, moving stuff around, that even the good stuff isn't always the good stuff anymore. Then we got the TR7 still here. Now, this car, if you remember, was owned by that teenager, which we should probably stop calling him a teenager because he turns 20 next week. So, yeah, but he's obviously owned the MGB GT since his first car at 16, and then bought this as a secondary vehicle. I've been having him work on this, if you remember correctly, getting him to do all the work on it, but he hasn't had much time to work on it. And I'm going to probably start moving in and doing a bit more to this thing to get this back up and running and out there, because I need it out of the garage. Plus, this happened this week. Another reason why I've been kind of out of the shop, or contributing factor, is trying to take care of, he got into a bit of an accident. Some girl pulled left and turned left in front of him at a light, and he didn't have enough time to be able to react and get stopped, and hit her in the door. So we had to go drop everything, go to the accident scene, see what was wrong, see what was going on with it, assess the damage, and try to get it up onto the trailer, because the bumper was pushed into the tire and we couldn't move it, so we had to do all that stuff to kind of pull that away so we get it on the trailer. And we don't know the fate of this thing yet. We still don't even have the police report. We know he wasn't at fault, but until the police report comes in, we can't even talk to the insurance company about it. And while it doesn't look too bad externally, it's not damaged that bad. Both rails are bent down and over in front of the cross member. So considering the price of new parts and the difficulty of finding good used fenders here in the Rust Belt, it's possible they may want to try to total it. And unfortunately, it blew out the radiator too. The fan caught the radiator, bent the fan, still has a metal fan on, and that was my radiator that I had on loan to him. So yeah, I'm out my radiator now. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. This is a good time to say, hey, when you are in your classic car and you're out driving around, it doesn't matter how good of a driver you are. It's everybody else out there. People are stupid these days on the road. They don't pay attention. They're always in a hurry. And you have to drive defensively, especially in your old car. I really do in mine, because I got so many hours wrapped into my car. I don't want somebody just pulling in front of me and totaling out my car. I don't want to get damaged in any way at all, so I drive very defensively, and I expect that somebody's going to turn in front of me, and I'm always ready for it in case it happens. So yeah, drive defensively in your classic. Be safe out there.